Hey, what's up? Let me see. Okay. So, chromatic stuff is pretty basic, right? There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, but you can also do a different order. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, you can do 2, 4, 1, 3. So it sounds like that's one, but you can also do 2, 3, 1, 4, which is the idea is when you start with middle finger and ring finger, it's probably uncommon because I don't know, like not a lot of lines start with that because everything is about index finger, right? So if I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 4, which by the way it's a great exercise on its own. You can also challenge yourself to have better independence with your middle finger and your ring finger. So for ascending, I think about 2, 3, 1, 4, and for descending, I do what is it? 3, 2, 4, 1. So if I have to type it out, that would be the order, right? So it sounds like for descending, it sounds like right. The idea of doing this, you don't have to play really fast. It's actually way more challenging to play slower because you have to hold the note longer, and it requires more stamina to just complete the whole thing, you know. So there's one thing. But another exercise that I love doing, and I kind of just, I wouldn't say I invented it, but I just choose to do it, is this exercise. So it's what is it? It's like a diminished tone, right? So it would be F, B, F, B, right? So it sounds like so I complete it, and I go chromatic descending. I get to my index finger, I go up by one, and then I do the exact same thing, except now it's this ascending, right? So right, so it sounds like that, and then I do descending. Once I get to my index finger, I go up again. So it's like a zigzag kind of thing. So it sounds like. Let me just mute my mics to see like how it sounds without the acoustic noise. And also the whole exercise, right? The idea is to build consistency with your ultimately left and right hand. So the logic behind playing bass is for your your left hand to be ready. And what I mean by ready is you have to make sure you press your finger, you push the string down as tight as possible with the least effort, right? So this is a good sound, but this is not a good sound. And this sound often happens when you play faster. And so when you play slower and you repeat this process of like making sure every note sounds good, you're creating like a habit to, you know, to understand what's supposed to happen, or rather the level of effort that you need to play the notes. So I think about that all the time, and I think, you know, even though the exercise is like super brainless and you don't have to think about it, it's not about thinking about it. It's more like memorizing your right hand and your left hand, right? Memorizing, like I said, the amount of effort that's needed, because I think like to be ready, to be mentally ready, is really important when it comes to playing. So yeah, I'm gonna probably just continue doing these drills, and maybe some people are going to come to the stream a bit later. So That's so funny. I was thinking about like a triplet thing maybe. Somehow, yeah, it definitely needs some work because I'm playing in four, so I'm not playing like three notes. My bad about that. Anyway, probably just gonna go back to the cross. What is it, like a cross pattern? We can call it that. Also, I think what I noticed about this practice is how placing your left hand fingers, or finger rather, is super important because when you're shifting, if you're not using the tip of your finger, right, if you're not actually sort of hammering the note from the top, you probably end up bending the string a lot because you're trying to get some kind of footing into it. So I don't know if I can show it, but this is kind of awkward. Okay, I gotta put on my strap maybe. See if this works. Just give me a second. Okay, so if I'm playing here, as you notice, I have this what is it, like a curve. And what it means is that I'm placing my finger right on the top of the string instead of kind of like grabbing it like this, you know. So I'm putting it on top of the string and I'm putting it with minimal effort, just like whatever that's enough to hold the string down, right? So I feel like that is the difference between someone that's really consistent and someone who's like sloppy. It's because like the left hand is just not disciplined enough, or the technique is not good. So yeah, it's still a really good thing too. Like even if you're playing slow, it doesn't really matter. The idea is like consistency is pretty insane, I think, when you really try to play from the tip of your finger. So left hand is always about the tip of the finger. Right hand, however, is different. Right hand, you actually want to use probably like this part a little bit. Well, it's almost like in the middle of it, because what it does, I don't know if I can show it, But think about like plectrums, right, or like picks, or guitar picks. The thinner the picks, the thinner the pick is, you'll get thinner sound. But the thicker the medium is, um, you'll get like a thicker sound. And that's the same thing with fingers. So if you're using the tip of your finger, it's good for playing fast, obviously, but a lot of the time the tone is not great because it kind of picks up more brightness to it, and also the tone that you get is not really full. Um, I don't know if I can show it, like I said, but let's see. So that's with probably like the middle of my finger, right? About there. And if I'm to switch or shift rather, it might sound like this. Now, I don't know if you like the first one or second one better, but the idea is that to get more fuller sound and more consistent sound, you know, I think it's good to practice playing slow with kind of, the middle of the finger, because what it does, you just learn to be more consistent with the tone, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people don't do. Like I can hear someone playing, like if I hear like a bass line, right, I can hear someone playing with the tip of the finger, and it's really funny because I happen to be always right about it. Um, yeah, I don't know, just like one of those things that I pick up. Um, okay. If anyone wants to ask any questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'm just gonna carry on. That is one thing that I get from Hadrian. So it's it's something that it's really hard to apply, like in a solo, because it sounds super random. But it's pretty much pedaling, right? Like a classical. It's like one of those classical music, like a violin thing. But it's basically yeah. But for for the A string, for that part to sound, pillowy and kind of nice like that. I'm using that technique earlier about using the middle part of the finger. And also, considering that the bass sounds pretty bright, rather, when you use that I don't know how to pronounce it, technique to play the G string, what it does, it dampens the brightness too, and it helps so much, I think, because you don't have to play with the EQ or anything. It sounds kind of like Tin Town, right? Yeah, something like that. Probably one of the hardest runs. Anyway. Also, another thing that I've noticed by playing that, when it comes to the part of right, um, naturally, I I think we all do it. We all kind of do this where we do this thing because it's like a reaction or like a reflex rather to imply the ghost note. But if you don't do that, it's actually cleaner. I don't know, maybe. So let me just demonstrate. That probably the second last time. Um, it sounds better, I think, instead of yeah, it's it's kind of weird. I yeah, I kind of overdo that too much. Yeah, I overplay that many times, I think. Yeah, you're right about that because it ruins everything. Like it's not part of the song. Like it's not part of the bass line. You know what I mean? It's not supposed to be there. It's that's what I talk about it. uh, you mean like mixing engineers or something like that? Sound engineers? No, that's not sound engineers, but engineers in general. Yeah, music producers. You can say that too. People who do like mixing and stuff. But see, the things like you hear, we hear so many bass lines that are compressed, right? And so when everything is super compressed, it's it's kind of not there. It's really easy to get away with a bass line that's like a bass tone rather that's like super compressed because you like they just take away all that extra stuff. But if you play like a jazz bass and there's no compression and the sound is bright, think about it like all the imperfections are there, right? So if your technique is not great, then it's gonna show. But I kind of like that though. It's like a good challenge. So uh, I'm gonna try something, and it's gonna be really interesting. So probably gonna go with the broadest tone possible and see how much noise I can make, or yeah, I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see because it's a lot more challenging to play bass lines with really bright tone because obviously, you know, it just doesn't sound good, and all the little finger noises are like just you just can hear it. So yeah, we'll see. All right, here we go. There's a lot of dead spots on in that area. So if I'm playing, if I'm not being careful with my left hand, it sounds. What is it? It's kind of on and off, which is weird. Maybe it's my right hand. Who knows? There you go. Yeah. But that's really good. Because do I have any practice routine I do almost every day? I go through. Okay. It's more like the musical stuff that I've been trying to play better, I guess, or something that I want to apply to a lot of the songs that I play with my band or my gigs, and the stuff that I'm trying to understand better. So it'll be like, just a bunch of stuff like that. It's kind of like chord changes, I'd say, but not in a, how do I say it, disciplined way. It's more like how I'd like to be able to flow from one chord to another. Yeah. because you can apply the same thing with every key, right? But the hardest thing is sometimes like when you play in a different key, because you play bass, suddenly it looks different because what is it, the continuation of, or the limitation as to how far you can go, or like how low you can go is different. So yeah. Do I still have that Federa NYC? It was never mine. Yeah, it sucks. It's not mine. It's someone else's. It was by far. It had to be the best jazz bass, 5-string jazz maybe, because obviously this thing is the best jazz bass. It was the best 5-string jazz bass that I've ever played. It was so heavy. It was probably like what, 5 kilo, I think. Let me see what 5 kilo is in pounds for you Americans. 11 pound. There you go. Get that. 11 pounds of bass, but the tone is like pretty insane. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my fingerstyle stuff. But for slap, it's probably slap is kind of the same thing. Slap is just getting better at understanding groove and being able to just like switch it on straight away. And what I mean by switch it on is like, to me, I put myself in situations where I have to create something new, right? And what it means is that I'm not necessarily copying any bass lines or whatever. It's more like me looking at like a rhythm or like a beat and be like, okay, I just want to play this without pulling out my licks. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I guess I do play licks, right? But my point is like from groove standpoint, like I have like this really playful mindset of it. Like I'm not putting everything in boxes. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess just me being more what's the right word for it? More free. So how often do I practice with 40 BPM? I don't practice with 40 BPM. In fact, I don't practice with any metronome, because I think practicing with metronome is kind of funny to me, because I think to a certain extent everyone can play with time. If you can clap on time, you should be able to play on time. But however, what makes you not being able to play on time is not the fact that your time is bad. It's because you're not good enough to execute or play whatever bass lines that you're playing. You know, it could be your technique, could be your right hand or left hand, whatever it is. Basically like inefficiencies of the execution itself, right? And this is like super straightforward, because technically if you're to tell yourself to play something that you can play like perfect, then you play it and you have no problem with it. And you might not even have had any practice with metronome. Metronome reminds you that you suck at your technique. So that's pretty much what it is. But even like, so drummer is different. I think for drummer to play with metronome, it's fine, because they have to learn to play in time, and also in and out of time, rather, right? Like they have to learn to kind of fight against the metronome itself in terms of playing behind the beat or in front of the beat. But bass players are not like that, because bass players, your lines are difficult, right? Your lines are different and the groove is different and the technique is different. So it's not as straightforward as playing with, I don't know, like I kind of lost it. My bad. Okay, let me recollect my thoughts. But Okay. Think about this. If you focus on executing what you're playing better, then obviously when you play with time, it's a matter of playing with the time. But if you're playing with metronome and you haven't really looked at the baseline or the technique itself, then it's like trying to run when you're still crawling. You know what I mean? It's like a baby that's trying to run when it can't run yet. So it's a little too premature, right? And I feel like that's weird. Like somehow this notion that you have to practice with a metronome to get a better time when there is no context as to, you know, whether the subject or the bass lines or whatever, like how difficult it is. Like it's never been talked about. I feel like execution is everything. Like there is no musicians out there who just practice with metronome the first time they hear they work out the parts. You gotta work out the parts first. So you have to think about how to approach it, right? Like your what is it, finger positioning, and how, like when you shift, you gotta think about how to shift it and how comfortable you are, or getting used to the shifting and all that stuff. And I think like jazz guitarists and I don't know, guitarists in general, they definitely relate to that. No one going to have like a metronome just like behind them just counting the time and then them trying to like keep up with their thing. It's not productive. That's not how you practice. That's stupid. Sorry. But it just is, you know. So to me, I never practiced with a metronome. I have in the past, but that's more like me trying to keep up with time. And it's always like stuff that's brainless, like right, stuff like that. And yeah, obviously the execution is good, and now I'm like, well, let's go for a run, you know. let's test it out. Let's see how fast I can go. Let's see what is the fastest tempo I can play perfectly. But if I'm learning music, if I'm like trying to learning how to play groove and all that stuff, what is the role of metronome? It nothing, right? It kind of makes no sense. Anyway, I can I can keep going about that on and on. So my bad. Always go on a tangent. Sucks. Okay. that's an example of playing without metronome. I'm not using any metronome at the moment. I'm not using any any drum machine. It was just literally just me, and what I was doing was that I wasn't just playing by myself, because I was thinking about a drummer, right, playing next to me. I was thinking about a guitarist, right, playing the parts, playing all the funky stuff, and I was thinking about keys. I was thinking about all this stuff. I was even thinking about a singer. Exactly. It's not like mental metronome, but imaginary band, right? Because think about this. What is the best practice? Like, people always ask that question, but the best practice is imagining that you're playing in a band. That is nothing better than that type of practice. Because you're pretty much preparing yourself for the real thing. You know. Obviously, I'm in my room. But what I'm doing is also like I'm not just doing all this. What is it? how do I explain this? Like theoretical music stuff, right? But I'm thinking about how to get into that zone, how to get into that mindset, how to get into that performing mindset. Like, I'm in the middle of the stage, just having a solo in E minor, you know, Terry on the bass. There you go. And I think like that mindset is really, really good, because that's when you kind of understand the difference between practice and playing music. How low is my string action? Okay, so see if you can judge by hearing this, just to hear how the bass sounds, right? What do you think? Because, yeah, so from how it sounds, the way, well, how to figure it out is that you hear about the open string. If you happen to be listening, it doesn't have, it's not like super rubbery, so it breathes a lot. Yeah, exactly. Not much buzz, but you can also argue that I have a good technique, that I kind of understand, you know, how much I can push it. You know what I'm saying? Like, every bass player has to understand the strings, right? As to how loose or how tight the strings are, because obviously it matters. If the strings is really loose but the action is high, you probably don't have to worry about that. Hello, thank you, as bassist. God bless you too, my friend. But yeah, look, like, low gauge is good, but also I play low gauge and I play really hard, especially when I slap. Right? I don't know if you can hear it, but you won't get good sound from playing really light. In general, in my opinion, it has to be precise, and it has to have some kind of intensity. And for me, intensity is everything, because it affects the bass line. It affects everything. Some kind of energy. You know what I mean? Especially my open E, right? Because I think like a lot of people told me that my E string, my open E string, is really, really good. Here we go. strings are tight on the what is it, first 5 frets, and so I kind of take advantage of that where I'm still bending and all that stuff. So if the action is tight, but I mean sorry, if the tension is tight, but the action is low, that is the perfect medium of the setup. Like you should never have low action and then like lose tension. You know, because it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? It has a Marcus Miller thickness sound. Yeah, it definitely does. I also don't have the same pickups as Marcus Miller's bass, right? So I'm lacking some natural mids rather. So you fucking replicate it actually. I have EMG JVX, and it's active. It's active because the pickups are active. The only quote unquote active pickups, because you know, like a lot of people talk about active pickups, but EMG is the only pickups that cannot function without any preamp in it, especially the JVX series. Okay. How do I do this? What's what's the bass line? Shit. I forgot it. What is it? Prince, right? That's word. I mean, it's like a little bit of a thing in the end. Loving you. Let me hear how it sounds. I'm not gonna play any copyrighted song today, by the way. I gotta make some money on that VOD. You know what I mean? Loving you. Is it mini or? Huh. Here we go. That's so cheesy. That's so hard. What the fuck? Yeah, I can't do that. I can't do it. Oh, you're gonna have to pay me $20 for me to learn it. I'm just kidding. Jokes. Doing things for money. Who does that? Everyone. Okay. I'm running out of tea. God dang it. Okay. Play PAL. I don't know how to play PAL anymore. Dude, it's been so long. But you know what I like? Was it that Larry Graham song? I kept mix. I got mixed out with another song that goes to 6, but it doesn't go to 6, right? So all that stuff. Cassiopeia, no. No, Tetsuo Sakurai is a master. All that Japanese fusion stuff is pretty crazy. Yeah, dude, it's just so good. I think when I started out, I was watching this video. I think it was like one of the most viral bass video at the time. And it was just him slapping a 6-string Yamaha, and I was like, how do you do that? It's nuts. I can't play a 6-string. I think like string spacing is definitely a thing. And domino line slap solo. Where can I find that? A domino line. Oh, there you go. All right, let me see. Let me check it out. Domino line. There you go. Where's the slap solo at? To 34. Yeah, all that stuff. That's cool. Oh, he's using. I just realized he's playing a 4-string. One of those old Yamahas. That's really cool, man. Yeah, it reminds me of, what is it, Val Johnson? Yeah, it's not the BB5000. Team Town Marcus. $20. I'm just kidding. I can't play it anymore. It's a try hard song. If you're try hard at the bass, you learn that song and you be like, I am Marcus Miller. I yeah, that's so hard. I don't know if I'm missing the like what is it, the neck pickup? Yeah, the neck pickup cover. I think it would have made it a lot easier, for sure. It's just really hard to kind of get a grip. Do I know any Thunder Caramon and shit? No, I don't. I don't spend my time learning stuff like that. I just like think about things that I can. How do I say it? Like if I hear something and it's not within um, the realm of things that I want to do when I play live, then I don't do it. So it's like everything that I do is super practical. So I learn actual bass lines. I, I just learn like how to play more more straight, not more straight, more formulated, I guess, since that's what I can do. The dirtiest R&B groove I know, probably that Michelle song, right? See if I can get the tone. Alright, one sec. Anyway, you get it. That stuff is super cool. Haha, expert at make a funk bass line with that using root note or minor seventh. Fine. Wait, root with that root note minor seventh. Failing at the challenge. Passed. I played the fifth. Thank you. Not American, but but I will I will take my right. I will take the right that is not mine. Yeah. Plead the fifth. The fifth. Ugh. Alright. What do I do? Maybe I'll play around with tones. Yeah, I like to kind of mix it up between it's not so Jamerson and then go a little bit to the Jamerson side, and then think about Rocco with the left hand muting, like full on muting, right, and then go palm muting. So it's to kind of like juggle all these things and apply it to actual song, and see like how you can stretch it. And for me, the whole thing becomes like a melting pot of influences, and I kind of like it that way because I'm playing chords, I'm playing all this stuff like I can do right, like hitting that C before C sharp. Samuel McKenzie for $1.99. It's still $18.01 short from Teen Town. I'm just kidding. Thanks, thanks, buddy. Okay. Anyway. Also, another thing that I really like about fingerstyle stuff is probably. Wait, I can't play it anymore. That's so weird, dude. The Telegram felt so. I completely lost it. I don't know how. Christmas Carol. I'm out of tune. Maybe my intonation sucks. Who knows? Oh, there you What key is that? Okay, let's see. Probably not a Christmas Carol, but I'll play what I would play at a Christmas Carol, so we'll see. what's important to creating your own signature sound rather than mimicking other people? Well, here's the thing: when you're a baby, before you can speak, you pretty much like just saying whatever it is that you're hearing, right? And it's not perfect, but eventually, like you keep doing that enough, you'll end up, you know, saying it your own way. You know what I mean? Like certain words or whatever, or maybe you're still, saying it the way someone else is saying it, or pronouncing it, or whatever, or like have some kind of accent. And when you think about playing, it's the exact same thing. But the problem is like, oh, I've seen this so many times. Okay, so I'll be like some kid, been playing for like 5 years or 10 years or whatever, and he'll be like, I just want to focus on finding my own sound, and I'm like, but you're like, you haven't really, worked really hard to, I guess, mimic or studying like a bass player or a musician, because I think like to find your own sound, you need to get that discipline of studying someone. How do you study someone? Well, you learn to be like them, you learn to think like them, you learn to play like them, and not just how you sound, but like you can copy, I don't know, their technique or whatever. And for me, that was Marcus, right? Marcus Miller. So that's funny, man. Bear pig. You don't consume a variety from the buffet. Yeah, it's true, but like, it's also just not about how much you consume it, but it's how much you understand and how much you internalize what you're hearing. Because for me, there are certain things that I really want to get out of Marcus, and that's about, because to me, Marcus Miller is the epitome of 70s jazz bass player. There is no one, in my opinion, that's better than him, because everyone sounds like Marcus, but Marcus doesn't sound like anyone else. That is crazy. That is actually crazy when you think about it. Like, no one else sounds like Marcus. Well, Marcus doesn't sound like anyone else, my bad. I'm sorry, Marcus. I have said the worst thing. Anyway, so yeah, it kind of makes sense when you think about that. So for me, when I started playing, I wanted to play like Marcus, because to me he was the best, right? And so I worked really hard to kind of understand how he plays, and not just like learning his stuff, because I actually can't play a lot of his songs, funnily enough, because I never judge, study, or kind of understanding based on how many songs of Marcus you can play, or whomever. I think like that's a little bit bullshit, because technically, learning how to play a song, if you're being provided with like the notes and tabs and all that stuff, you can't play it. But that's not the mission or the point, right? To find your own sound, you need to study. And what I mean by studying someone is like I said, you kind of just learn how to pronounce the words the same exact way as this guy, and it's kind of like that. It's kind of like unlearn what or like being more like him and less of yourself. Yeah, same thing with Detroit, right? Like, I'm kind of the same thing. Like, I can't play the up down thumb stuff. Like, I'm so limited in so many ways, but I feel like that limitation of my technique, right? Like, I can't do the, what is it? that's like what, maybe about 80% of my best version of Detroit, right? Maybe like with better sound and all that stuff. But my point is like, what is the point of playing the song the exact same way? Well, how do I say? Well, what is the point of trying to perfect that? You know, it's better if I learn how to let me collect my thoughts. Sorry about that. It's it's really hard to kind of like say what I want to say because my mind goes like really fast. Okay, okay, I'm ready. I think about what I want to sound like because 99% of the time I'm not playing Detroit. Well, 99.999% of the time I'm not playing Detroit, and I'm not doing double thumb. And and I probably won't be playing, that bass line anyway. How many songs that have that line? Tell me, how many songs that have that line that I would play like in daily basis at gigs and whatnot? Almost like none, if not like none. And so I don't worry about that. I think about what's better for me, what makes me a better bass player, and that's like subjective to everyone, right? Like you have to ask yourself like what it is that you want to achieve. And for me, as a working bass player, as a band director, as a band leader, my purpose is to understand my role better. My purpose is to like serve everyone musically. My purpose is to set up the groove as comfortable as possible, and in however way I see fit, right? Whether I want to play simple, or whether I want to play more, or I want to play less, or I want to chop out, it doesn't matter. But my point is like, if that's my goal, then obviously the work that's cut out for me is completely different to just practicing Marcus Miller stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's like working out. I obviously don't work out, but for those who do, you think about like the nutritions, like the type of workouts that you gotta do to get to, whatever shape you wanna be in. It's the same thing. It's the exact same thing. It isn't. You can't just like work out for the sake of working out. You gotta think about, your goal. Like what food you have to eat. Martin said best to develop you than to develop the Marcus in you. Yeah, that's correct. But it's also like, you think about this. If you listen to Marcus, you ask yourself, what can you play out of whatever it is that you've heard, right? And then if you can play 2% of it, then focus on that 2%. Refine that 2% until it's perfect as possible. Because a lot of people probably don't know that I can't play so many Marcus songs. I can't do it. But I will never ever put myself out there in a position where like people I would never let people figure out where my ceiling is, right? I mean, this is obviously different, but my point is like, I never play stuff that I don't sound good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to chew. Wait, what's the saying? you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So it's about understanding like bite more than you can chew. That's right. Thank you. I need a fucking translator next to me. Oh my god, dude. Okay. Yeah. So think about like what you can do best. Think about like what's natural to you, right? And just refine that. Just absolutely get really, really good at that. I'm really good at like some weird stuff, but I make sure that I make sure that like they're absolutely second nature to me, right? Because ultimately I'm focusing on making music, obviously, and my tools, which is all this technical stuff, they have to be ready, and I have to understand how to use my tools, which means that all the technical stuff, it can't just be about Marcus, because it has to be about all the other stuff that I want to play. It has to be about instead of focusing on Marcus, it's focusing about making music. So it's like it has to be recyclable. You know what I mean? It has to be able to be used on everything else. And when you think like that, then your whole mentality about practice just changes, because no longer you think about one specific thing, because I don't know, people get too caught up on that, like a lot of people just focus on playing instrument instead of making music. Because when I'm playing bass, I don't think about playing bass. I don't label myself as a bass player. I just think about myself as a musician. And every time I play bass, I'm just making music. It just happened to be bass. That's what it is. So, yeah. Okay, catching up. What are my thoughts on marking? Marking is great. Marking is an absolute scientist. To me, it's like he's like this rocket scientist, because he everything that he does is super technical, and it's not just that. Like his understanding of rhythm. Like you might think there's a machine gun slapper, but think about the finger style stuff that he does. Crazy. Um, John said, "What's impressive about Marcus is his studio sound. It's very similar to live." Yeah, that's true. Um, he, okay. I would like to have thoughts about this, so feel free to give me your opinions. Okay, Marcus Miller with marking versus Marcus Miller with EBS. Go. Which one's better? Tell me. I'm absolutely ready. Not marking, sorry. Oh Jesus. I said marking. Marcus Miller with Mark Bass or Marcus Miller with the EBS. I'm talking about his amps, right? I'm talking about the bass amp that he uses, because obviously he switched to Mark Bass, and we know that it's a tragedy. We know. uh, yeah. Well, you can probably hear it on the latest album. I'm pretty sure from the High Life album, like it was already. No, it was EBS on High Life, I think. The Aphrodisia album. But ever since he moved to Sire and Mark Bass, it's like, oh, dude, it's the absolute tragedy of his sound. His best sound by far is Silver Rain, right? That album. No, he sounds good with the Mark Bass, but he doesn't sound better than the EBS. You know what I mean? The EBS is what Detroit sounded like, what Silver Rain sounded like. The EBS is Marcus. It's like the extension of his sound for so long. Because think about Higher Ground, right? Or What Is Hip. You can never get that sound with Mark Bass, legit. Because the Mark Bass, even though it's like Marcus Miller signature, like I just don't think, I just don't think it really serves him. Like he still sounds like him, obviously, but yeah, I don't know. My bad about that. My bad. All right, real quick. Who knows Andrew Boucher? Oh yeah, Marcus and the Fretless. Yep, that is definitely something else. Um, oh, Goodbye Pork Pie Hat, right? How good was that? That's, dude, that's just insane. Also, don't forget Marcus on bass clarinet. How's that? I think there's a version of In a Sentimental Mood with Alex Hahn. That is just nutty. Let me just link it to you guys. Yeah, I love that version. Also, what is it? That the bass line on Boomerang. Probably one of my favorite bass lines ever. It's got Raphael Sadiq in it too. Thomas and Cousin John. I don't know what that is. Yeah, Marcus on the bass clarinet. I'll look it up. I'll look up Cousin John. Sounds like a weird song title. Cousin John. Oh, there we go. Huh? This is. I must have missed this. Oh, dude, I miss Pudgy Bell so bad. I can tell that this is him. Oh, this one. Oh, it's called Cousin John. cover, right? That's also a classic. I I learned the horn stab the other day, which is absolutely monster to play. It's just kind of weird. So how often do I change strings? Good question. I guess I used to boil strings because I was broke. But I I don't sweat, right? My hands is if I play for like 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, I don't have any sweat. So my strings are bright all the time. Okay, how often would I do that if I have unlimited free supply of strings? Probably every week. That's it. Yeah, every week. I will do that every week. Marcus will do that every night. Can you imagine? But then again, like he kind of slapped the shit out of it. Yeah, like changes like every days, 3 days. Yeah. Marcus changes it. Changes strings every night. After like, yeah. Well, I have a badass bridge, which means that I have to literally like pull out the whole thing through. But then again, like changing strings is not an easy thing in general. I set up my own bass, so it's like a surgery, you know, trying to find the perfect action and tension and whatnot. Like I spent so much time on this one, dude. This was this bass did not play like this for the longest time. I feel like I cracked it, you know. NS Design Radius bass. Yeah, I know about that bass. What bass do you play, by the way? Not sure if I muted myself. Yeah, what bass do you play? I think I'm gonna play something real quick, just so that we don't have boring stuff. R&B. Alright, this is pretty fun. It's time to get out of that. Like, I need to make a conscious decision to move on from that. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing to kind of like not play the same thing over and over again. But I feel like I'm not done with it. I still feel like I'm trying to make something, I don't know, sounding more musical, you know. And that's not necessarily easy when you're trying to do your own thing, because everything is like trial and error. So, but then again, like playing in this kind of setting where there's not a lot of stimulation in terms of like music, that's kind of hard to go places because you're just hearing yourself and you're just like imagining things in your within your perspective, if that makes sense. So like everything is one dimensional. So okay, I'm going to head off. My brain is fried. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Hopefully, there's something that's good out of this. Anyone that's rewatching this after stream. So yeah, if you have any suggestions as to what content or what stuff you want me to talk about, or yeah, or maybe like for me to stream in a different time or something, feel free to comment. So yeah, thanks guys.